Hi, and welcome to Schema Stories. My name is Martha Van Brickle, and I'm the co-founder of Hunch Manifest, the creators of Schema app. We love doing Schema Stories because it's where we sort of leave the technology aside and talk to real people who are doing semantic search marketing to understand how they describe it in their words, their experience using the technology, and the value that they're able to derive from it. So today I'm joined by Chase Reiner, who's joining me from California. And he's from First Click. Welcome, Chase.
Hey.
And so let's jump right in. So I always start by, tell us a bit about yourself, what you do at First Click, a little bit about your podcast.
Okay, so thanks for having me, first of all, Martha. I am part of a company called First Click Inc., and we do full service marketing. Currently, I'm the SEO campaign manager here, but I wear a lot of other hats. I do social media marketing, content marketing, conversion rate optimization, anything under the umbrella of online advertising. So just a little background on me. I got started doing SEO about 2 years ago. I was very confused with what I was doing. I kind of just did web design, and I really, started to show a passion for SEO, but not even really knowing, what it was other than ranking on Google. And started reading a lot of books, and eventually created my own company, which was just literally just my keywords on a website, which was SEO in my city. And I outranked all of the companies in the city that I'm in. And I actually got a job with First Click, and that's where we are now. And we actually have a pretty cool podcast as well. We don't talk as much about Schema, but we do talk about anything related to online marketing. So, what's working today with, something very specific, like maybe social media, that sort of thing.
Excellent. And so we like to kind of dive right in. So we're just going to start directly. So around schema.org, when did you first hear about it? How did you hear about it? And what was of interest about it to you?
Okay, so that's a good question. For Schema, I kind of saw the importance of it when I started doing these Google Hangouts with this community called Dumb SEO Questions. And basically, this is a community of like 27,000 members on Google. And it's a pretty cool community, actually. You can ask any SEO question you want, and there's like these people who will literally give you a video response to your question. So when people started asking questions on that community, I saw, some of it was about Schema, and I was like, oh, well, Schema, I should probably learn about this stuff. It seems pretty important. Well, with anything in the SEO world, it takes a lot of time to like learn very specific things. And I started looking at Schema, but like when I looked at that library of code, I was like, this is insane. This is way too much. So moving forward, I started seeing it like probably about a year ago. And then when I started actually implementing it was maybe like, I don't know, 6 months ago. And the reason why I actually came across your app, Martha, is I was having a really hard time. I basically dedicated myself to learn this stuff because I was like, I'm an SEO. I need to learn this. It just has to happen. And I just started reading the Schema library, and I'm like, this is still insane. Like even after hours and hours of reading and looking up video tutorials on this stuff, I have no idea. Like this is too much. And so I actually looked for a forum around like apps for Schema, and I was looking for WordPress plugins, and that's how I found somebody talking about Hunch Manifest. And then I started looking at your tutorials, and I started trying out the Schema app, and I'm like, oh my God, this is like such a relief that you guys have this and that you created this, because there's really no way to just know like, oh, well, I need this item prop in this area. I need, all these different markups within a certain, like say like a review markup. I didn't know that I needed, I don't know what the specifics would be, but you know what I mean? Like the different elements that would be included. So I don't know if that.
Well, and now you don't need to know the specifics, right? That's sort of the point for those of us that don't want to have to code it, right? It still sort of solves that problem. Chase, I'm just gonna have you like drill in a bit. Like when you're reading through the Schema vocabulary, that it would just kind of makes me laugh because I probably would have fallen asleep after like the first couple pages. But like, what was confusing about it? Like, what was the pain there? Because I think that's where other listeners are gonna kind of relate to you. Because when we were trying to understand it, what was sort of that core like, holy crap moment? Like what was the whole, like, this is just too much?
Okay,
So
that's a good question. That's also a very good question. And for me, what happened was, I can get like the top level stuff, like, review markup or local business markup, but it's when you have to start drilling into all those different elements where it gets like, 30 levels down into like, I honestly don't know the specifics because they get so specific, but for anybody who's done Schema, they know what I'm talking about. It just gets so crazy, like trying to like even see, like, would it be a good idea to use this certain markup when I can see that only like 10 domains are using it,
Yeah. Almost like the rabbit hole. I call it like the rabbit hole, right? Like as you're trying to understand the main concepts, how things are all connected, and then how do you like get back out to breathe, because sort of the rabbit hole goes so deep. Yeah, no, I felt that pain too as I sort of started learning it, and I live and breathe it every day. So one of the things, I'll say I've had my own journey, but interested to hear yours is around, how do you talk about sort of semantic search sort of in the SEO with customers? So in the SEO world and the technology world, we talk a lot about it, but in your words, like, how do you describe this to customers? How do you kind of translate all this tech and this confusion to customers?
Right. Well, it really depends on the customer it applies to. But like, you see opportunities out there, like somebody who has a news site or somebody who has a local business or somebody who's hosting events, and you're like, oh my God, you could be using Schema. And then most of the time, people with like anything you explain by SEO or that's for SEO, they'll be very confused. And what I'll usually say is like, what do you actually see? What I'll say is like, oh, well, with aggregate rating or review markup, you see stars underneath your search results. What does that translate to? It translates to higher click-throughs, and higher click-throughs are usually something that Google sees as a good thing. So, with anything that I would be like selling to somebody, whether it be a news site or just a local business or whatever, I would probably show them what they can actually see. Because if you're just explaining to them, oh, well, there's all this specific code that goes into your website, this is what it looks like, and Google may pick up this as a and show it, or they may not. Like, I just show them like, or I explain to them like the expected results. And then I also explain to them that, because they're expected, we can't guarantee this. That's usually what works best for me.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, showing the visuals, right? That's excellent. So you talked a bit about sort of selling it. So one of the things I know agencies who are considering doing semantic search are like, well, how do I incorporate this into my services today? How does this complement other SEO work I do? Do you want to talk a bit about sort of how you guys are thinking about that at First Click?
Yeah, so we have different price plans, and what we usually do for anybody who's looking for SEO and not like social media or whatever else other than SEO, within our packages we usually include search engine schema markup, because schema markup's very, very important, and it seems like it's getting more and more important as time goes on, because Google's starting to really trust schema markup more, as long as you're not spamming it. So like with anything, we always recommend that even if you don't have a local business or you don't have like a news site, you should still be marking up your about pages. You should still be marking up your contact pages. So, if somebody does look up your business or your phone number, hopefully you're going to get like some sort of knowledge panel or knowledge graph that shows, oh, this is their phone number. And Google's more likely to show that if you have schema markup than if you don't. So like I said, with any of this, any of our SEO, we almost always include schema markup as one of the things, even in our basic SEO packages.
Awesome. In results, you sort of talked about like expected outcomes. Do you have any stories about maybe customers you've done structured data for and some of the outcomes that you've seen?
Yeah, definitely. So like when I first tested Schema, the thing that I was really big on was the aggregate rating, because stars under your search results are something that are like really cool to have. And that, for my own business personally, I've been able to, and I still have stars underneath, certain services that I offer in my area, like computer repair and, whatever else, because I actually have reviews for those. You don't want to cheat the system and put like 5,000 reviews on your on your search result when that's not true. And then for other people, like organization data, we work with a school here, an actual university, and it's really important for their social media profiles to show up on their knowledge panel when somebody looks up that school. And so by adding your social profiles, and it's actually, the code is, what is it? It's, you know what it is. Same as, and then you put your different, and that's, that's great. You just take the code, put it in there, and then if you have Schema app, you can change it at any time without having to actually go into the code. You can do it from, manage it from the actual app that you guys offer. So yeah, we use it all the time, and it's absolutely necessary for anybody who's doing search engine optimization. That's one of the first things that they should be looking at, is like, what's the schema code that we're going to want to use.
Excellent. Anything that you've ever been sort of challenged on by customers, sort of when, like, you talked a bit about sort of, you don't guarantee anything. The words I like to use are like, we contribute to building these different outcomes. Anything that you sort of respond to customers when they're saying, like, oh, will I get the stars, or will I get the knowledge panel? Any sort of insights or learnings that you found from doing it across different customers?
Yeah, so what I would have said 6 months ago and what I'll say now is like two completely different answers. And what I would have said 6 months ago is like, well, they're just being unreasonable, and people, they just want so much when it comes to their online marketing. But what I say now is that the reason why people expect certain things is because you get them to those expectations. A lot of the people who look for online marketing don't even necessarily really know what they want. They just know that they need more conversions. They need people to go to their site. They need, better brand awareness, whatever else. So when I go to those people and I say, here's the things that we can do, or the things that, you should do, that's setting an expectation like, okay, these are the things that they could be doing. We may or may not do those based on the hours that we have for that month. What I've changed it to is like saying like, look, these are the things that we're going to do for you as like a deliverable. Like, we're going to implement schema markup. We're going to change your heading tags, your alt tags, your title tags, whatever else. And then I tell them these are the immediate results. So this is what's going to happen. You're going to have the code on your website. Your sites can be better read by users when Google reindexes what your title tags are and your meta descriptions. And whatever else the instant results would be around, or you're going to have analytics. You're going to be able to see who's going to your site. And then the expected results. So, you may get stars underneath your search results. You may get a lower bounce rate. You may get more conversions. And the reason why I do that is because when they come back to me in a month or whatever the time period is, they're going to say, oh, well, we didn't get stars. And I'm going to say, well, that's because that was an expected result. We can't guarantee this. And anybody who does guarantee you something like that, you don't want to trust them. And Google even says themselves in their documentation, don't tell anybody, or don't believe anybody who says that they're going to, give you rankings or, things that are out of their control. That's called black hat.
Yeah, and actually, I like to think of structured data as really white hat, right? Like, you need to represent what's on your website, in a way that the search engines can understand, and it allows you to control sort of how you're articulating that. Thoughts on sort of semantic search maybe being like the white hat SEO?
Well, no, that's a really good point. There's a lot of things that are really out of SEO's control. You can't, like we were just talking about, you can't guarantee that people are going to stay on your site. You can't guarantee that, the bounce rate's going to go down in July. That might be a different holiday. It is, it's 4th of July. But anyways, with Schema, you can actually guarantee that this is the code that's going to go on the site. And with the structured data testing tool, you can guarantee that Google's reading it how it should be read. And then with, Hunch Manifest, you can actually see that these are the actual things that should be going into, the required elements that you guys actually go out and specify for the users. And you guys can actually, show people with your tutorials, which are amazing, how to actually go out and do this. And so anything that you can prove on the SEO side of things, like, using an SSL certificate on your site, it's going to be a ranking factor. Using, there's a bunch of proven ranking factors. I can't just pull them off the top of my head right now because I'm kind of in the mindset of explaining schema. But anything that you can prove, like implementing schema, can be helpful to your site, so you should probably do it. That's something where people can control, and that's why they should definitely look into implementing it.
Yeah, actually, one of my favorite, I just created a new page about like why you need to do semantic search, and I highlighted like a line from Google that says basically like, we're telling you to do this, which every SEO person loves, right? It's like, well, Google says, so we must need to do that. So we're almost out of time here, so I'll ask my last question is like, when it comes to kind of learning about schema.org and sort of building strategies for websites around semantic search, where do you go to learn and find out sort of or get resources?
Okay, so I've done it on my own. Like I was saying before, I've just gone and tried to learn it all by myself. I've gone to tons of different forums, watched YouTube videos. The problem with all of those is that you kind of get information here and there. Your tutorials are honestly like the go-to tutorials, and I started listening to them, which was so weird. This is one of the things I told you when I contacted you, was that I watched so many of your tutorials that when I actually talk to you in person, which is crazy because you actually talk to your customers in person, like if they need help, it was just so weird because it's just like you wouldn't think that somebody who does all these tutorials, would just be talking to you in person. So definitely the Hunch Manifest blog, or is it still under Hunch Manifest, or is it under?
No, it's all under Schema app now.
Okay.
Yeah, we moved everything over to be under Schema app.
Okay, well, under Schema app, those tutorials are amazing, and the reason why I like them is because they're all put together under like one umbrella. So that if you start with business markup, you can move to marking up your contact page because that's the next thing in the series. And you guys do a really great job at putting together studies. And I actually just read one of the infographics you put up about schema markup, and you guys are constantly coming up with new information that most people would never be able to like dive into that much.
That's because we live and breathe structured data every day, all day. and we don't expect SEOs to want to spend all their time doing that because there's so much to learn, right? So we hope to digest it. Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Chase, if people want to get a hold of you, how and where is the best place for them to find you?
Okay, so if you wanted to get a hold of me, probably do it on Twitter. If you go to @SEO_Chase, you'll be able to find me, and that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Thanks for the great conversation today. Thanks for being part of our Schema Stories and sharing how schema.org plays a role in your day-to-day.
Thanks for
having me. Have a great day.